Mark Sanchez will be under center for the Jets on Sunday. It's week 17, and Tebow is once again passed over for the start. At this point, do you really think Tebow cares about the fact that he was not named starter? Chris, I'll start with you.
Yes, I think he does care, and I think he should care that he's not named the starter. Look, we can talk all we want about, Mark Sanchez being more comfortable in this offense, or comfortable playing against this team. 5-1 in his career against Buffalo, 11 touchdowns, 8 picks against this team. Obviously more comfortable as a starter in this type of situation. But look, Tim Tebow, I think this would have been an opportunity for him to have a productive game. Now, the Bills are middle of the road against the pass this year, but they are the worst rushing defense in the NFL. And Tim Tebow is a rushing quarterback. I can see him dropping back, making plays, putting himself in a position to advance himself going into free agency next year. I think this could be a monster game for Tim Tebow. Now, he could fall flat his face, no question about it. There's an equal, probably an equal, maybe if not more of a chance that he does that. But if you're looking for an opportunity against the listless Buffalo Bills team, like a team that can't stop the run, a team you could run roughshod over if you want to, I think this is an ideal type of situation for Tim Tebow to go in there. And he's not just being passed over once, he's being passed over again. Greg McElroy the first time, Mark Sanchez the second time. I mean, what does this guy have to do to get on the field? I would be extremely insulted if I were Tim Tebow.
Wow, if I was him, I'd be extremely happy. I would be. Man, Chris, it's no way. If I'm Tim Tebow, I don't want to go out there. From the standpoint of being the starting quarterback, looking at everything that has happened this year, they don't have weapons out there for him to get the ball to. They don't have a running game. Offensive line has been this year. It's been so-so this year. To me, if they put Tim Tebow in there, first of all, they're going to have to condense the playbook. They're going to have to condense it down because I don't think he can run everything that Mark Sanchez ran. So you're going to have a smaller playbook. They know most of his plays are going to be run. So it'll be a little easier for them to sit on the run and sit on a Tim Tebow. I just think it's a bad move. I think what he needs to do is just get a new start. I think if they said they're going to get rid of him, go to Jacksonville, start anew. The Wildcat, I was looking for the Wildcat. There's been no Wildcat. I don't know what the big plans were for him. But to use it, to wait till week 17 and to try to implement whatever they were going to try to do, I just think it's wrong.
Yeah, but why can't he run the same plays that Mark Sanchez? I understand that he's a Wildcat quarterback, but this guy has been the backup the entire season. I get that he probably won't run it as well as Mark Sanchez, but that was one of the most ridiculous arguments for Rex Ryan, that we only have a couple of days to prepare to go through walkthroughs. Tim Tebow should be able to understand the terminology and the playbook and be able to run it effectively. From a tactical standpoint, I'm saying, he should be able to do it. I'm not saying he'll be as effective as Mark Sanchez or Greg McElroy, but it shouldn't be a question of if he can get caught up to speed right now. We're at the last game of the season. He should be up to speed right now.
If I'm Tim Tebow, I mean, do I even care anymore? I mean, I care about football. I mean, I care about, my career. Right. But I don't care. I'm not insulted anymore. I was insulted week 6 when I should have been put in the first place. And so at this point, I mean, the hits just keep on coming. So why should I even bother me? Because nothing's going to change. And even if I go talk to the coach, nothing's going to happen. And listen, as far as him playing and him getting reps, again, I'll play, I'm going to do it, but it's going to be the same old situation. It'll be the same old outcome. I mean, you're talking about the last week in the NFL season. Right. Are we even in pads right now? I mean, what's the give-a-hoot level for the Jets right now? None. Is anyone even going to block?
Watch your language.
I mean that's what it is. It's very low. Nobody cares. I mean, they know what's going on in the locker room. They know what's going on in upper management. They know what we're talking about because whether they want to admit it or not, they're listening. Right. Okay, they're here and and the team is getting insulted. Forget about Tim Tebow. It's the team. It's the older guys. It's the young guys. If I'm Rex Ryan, I'm insulted just by the way I handled the situation, and I wish I could find a way out of this to make it better. The fact is, this was a mistake from the day it started, and it just ended like everyone said it would.
Let me ask you this, Chris. Who do you think is a better quarterback, Tim Tebow or Mark Sanchez?
Right now? Well, right now,
Tim
Tebow.
You think Tim Tebow?
The Mark Sanchez that lit up the Bills in week 1 of the season is not the Mark Sanchez right now. He was the worst statistical quarterback in the NFL in the month of December. I think psychologically...
I was going to say, what contributed to his demise?
He's broken psychologically. He's been booed by his home fans. He's been splashed over the back pages of the New York tabloids. You look at him on the sideline, and I'm not a body language expert, but I look at the way he's roaming the sidelines, the look on his face. He clearly has been affected by all the things that have gone on in the city of New York over the last month. He's not the same player that busted up Buffalo the last 5 out of the last 6 games.
What was the turning point for him? When did it end?
I think getting pulled in the middle of that game early in December.
Not butt fumble? It wasn't butt fumble?
I mean, that was maybe at the end, but the pull was before that, right? He got yanked out of the game, then put back in, or put back in the following week. I think that that started to sap his confidence a little bit there. But he's not the same quarterback. Right now, at this moment in time, on December, 28th, I think Tim Tebow is a better quarterback than Mark Sanchez.
So last year, during this time, his ending last year wasn't that good either, right? Sanchez, I think the end of the season last year, kind of similar.
Not this bad, though.
Not this bad, but kind of similar. He was being booed. You know, he was being criticized last year, too. Got a restart, got a redo during the offseason, got renewed by Ryan, and he came back. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think Rex Ryan is probably going to have to do the same thing next year.
Lomas, let's stay in New York. Giants defensive coordinator says that he's not taking the blame for the Giants' problems on defense. He says the players aren't getting the job done. Meanwhile, the quarterback soap opera continues to dominate the back pages as the Jets limp toward the finish line. Question is, who is the bigger disappointment this season? Is it the Jets or is it the Giants? And I'll start with you, Christian.
Well, listen, the Giants are still in it. I mean, we can't call it a total disappointment yet. They need some help to get into the playoffs, but they're still 8-7, and they still have a chance to make a run if they could do what they did last year. But in the end, it's the Jets, and it's not even close. The way this thing was handled, the way the players reacted, what was said in the media, the constant scrutiny, the quarterback situation, the defense. I mean, even on just a straight football approach, okay? Just injuries. I mean, they weren't able to get anything out of the guys that they had, and then the guys got hurt, and they weren't able to, I guess, scheme their way to victories because, because of the players that they had. So, and that starts at the top, by having the right players and signing too many high-priced players 4 years ago and not having any depth to recover if you did have injuries. So the Giants, listen, they're still in it. They're still relevant. They're not giving me that warm and fuzzy feeling like I had last year because they're losing, important games at the end of the season when you should be winning them. But in the end, it's the Jets, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I'm with the Jets, too. Look, I get tired of being sold a bill of goods. That's no good. I mean, like you said, the Wildcat. The defense is going to be outstanding this year. The defense is going to be the catalyst for this team. Just all the things that they sell to you, not just this year, last year too. It's every year a coach comes out. He's boastful. He's saying that they're going to do this, they're going to do that. They've changed. They got this team that's going to get over the hump and finally get into a Super Bowl, and it never pans out. It implodes on those guys. You got bickering in the locker room, like you said. Coaches don't really know what they're doing. They don't know how to play their players. Personnel is bad. It's just so much. You look at Tannenbaum. You don't know if he's making the moves. You don't know if Woody Johnson is making the move. It's just a big mess, and it's been going on. And the worst thing about it, they're in New York, so they get all this press coverage. Remember training camp? We were set up out there for a week, just watching them doing training camp. Nothing materialized. I'm tired of being sold this big bill of goods and being let down.
See, I disagree because I think it's the Giants, because what bill of goods necessarily were you sold about this Jets team? They were 8-8 last year, and nobody expected this to be the sort of the Barnum and Bailey type meltdown that they've had.
Well, Rex Ryan was saying it.
Yeah.
Well, Rex Ryan always says that.
Well, that's what he's talking about.
Okay, but I mean, if you're looking at it from an objective opinion, did you really think the Jets were Super Bowl contenders this year? And after Darrelle Revis goes down, and after Santonio Holmes go down, you have to ratchet down the expectations for this team. Now, no question, it's turned into an absolute farce out there in New York, but with the Jets. But the Giants, they're coming off the Super Bowl win. This was a team that was expected to bounce back. Most of their players came back. That vaunted defensive line comes back. This team is listless. They look rudderless out there. Look at some of the numbers. 29th in the NFL in giving up plays 20 yards or more. 31st in the NFL in plays 40 yards or more. They're giving up big plays left and right. In the month of December, when games really start to count, Eli Manning, this elite quarterback, is 17th in the NFL in passer rating. We had enormous expectations for this Giants team, and they have acted like they don't even care. They do. They behave that way. We talked yesterday about how they're talking to the media about next year. Osen Umenyiora saying he might not be back with the Giants next year. Eli Manning sort of foreshadowing next year. They're still mathematically in the playoff chase, and they're talking about next year. To me, the Giants are a much bigger disappointment just because we expected them to be good. We didn't expect the Jets to be.
But what about some of the changes that they made? You said most of that team came back. You lost some big guys. Mario Moynihan.
Sure.
I think he was directly the reason why Victor Cruz didn't have the year he had. Even though he got in the Pro Bowl, you know, it still wasn't the Victor Cruz that we were used to seeing. You know, they lost Brandon Jacobs. You know, Ahmad Bradshaw had a lot of injuries this year. Brandon Jacobs could have been the second string back that came in and took some of those. Gary Brown, the Brown guy, he did pretty good. But you lost some big personalities, and you have to look at what you lose out the locker room. It's the chemistry. It's not just all about what happens on the field. It's what you lose in the locker room with the leaders in there. And I really think Coach Coughlin, he has so much on his plate. You need those guys in the locker room to kind of manage things for you, because I think out of all the locker rooms, I think an NFL locker room is the most polices themselves.
Yeah.
We try to police ourselves in the NFL locker room.
Best locker room you ever been in, Lomas?
Best locker room I ever been in probably was the Giants when I was there. Great locker room, a lot of veterans. A lot of veterans.
You mentioned.
Tampa was good, but I look at some of the personalities in New York, Jesse Armstead.
So how'd that translate for you guys?
Well, we lost the Super Bowl. We got there, but we lost the Super Bowl, and I did win it with Tampa.
Okay.
So.
You mentioned a lot of the players that are gone. You mentioned a lot of offensive players. Explain to me why this team is dead last in sacks with the defensive line they have. Explain to me why this team is 30th in the NFL in team defense with the playmakers they have on the defensive side of the ball. To me, it just comes down to effort. I think this team just coasted after the Super Bowl. I thought they thought they could get back into the playoffs and duplicate what they've done, what they did last year, and they couldn't do it. And to me, that makes them an enormous disappointment.
Yeah, well, as long as they're still in it, they're not a disappointment. As long as they're still mathematically in the race and in the hunt.
Like the sun has to rise in the west for that to happen.
They're still in it. So, you know, next week, I mean, today's Friday, you know, so it's 3 games, 3 teams have to lose. But in the end, you know, you have to assume that these guys will win this next game. And, you know, granted, people, you know, some losses happen and they get a little help. They can do a little bit of business, make a little noise in the playoffs, you know. But again, it's just one of those things where the Jets have been so bad. Yeah. Nobody gets more attention than the Jets. Some warranted, some not warranted, you know. And the way they handle, it's like just mishandling a botched snap. It's like it just looks horrible. And the more you see it, the more you're convinced it was a bad situation. So listen. The story of the year will be the Jets from beginning to end. And the Giants, although they didn't live up to their expectations, nobody has said more out of their locker room about what they're going to do and then let us down more than the Jets have.
Well, you know what, to your point, it's not that far-fetched. Let's see. So the Packers have to beat the Vikings, the Lions have to beat the Bears, the Redskins have to beat the Cowboys, and the Giants have to win. Is that really that far-fetched?
A little bit, because that's 3 teams. They're counting on 3 other teams to go the other way, and they have to beat the Eagles, which I think is going to be difficult for them. The way they've played the last few weeks, I firmly expect Michael Vick to have a big game. Maybe I'm just pipe dreaming there, but I think Michael Vick, with potentially a job opportunity on the line next year, with a lot of people watching Michael Vick to see how he performs in this situation, I think he has a big game right there. But this Giants team, just the listlessness of it, the indifference it seems like they've had towards the regular season, and the expectations, I say again, that we had for them. Did you guys believe the Jets were going to be Super Bowl contenders? You said the Jets are the story this year. I completely agree. They're the story. But does that make them a bigger disappointment? I don't see
Maybe because of what has happened and how it happened.
Yes.
That's why it's probably a bigger disappointment.
Oh, there should be a laugh track to the way they played this
year. I know, but it's a soap opera, so you're like, really? No, really? No, really? And then, you know,
it got worse and it got worse. And they had a chance to kind of fix it. And then prove us wrong. Just listen, eat a little crow. We made a mistake, and just admit to their mistakes. So they just never wanted to do it.
All right. I'm sorry. What do you want to say, Lomas?
Go ahead.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
All right.
All right.
You see, I favor Lomas.
Clearly.
You see how nice I am to him.
He's been in the good seat over.
He's always in the good seat.